The rain was relentless that November morning in Seattle. Heavy drops hammered against the windshield of my silver Honda as I navigated through the congested streets toward Seattle-Tacoma Airport. I was running late for my flight to San Francisco, where a crucial business meeting awaited me, one that could determine the future of my consulting career. My name is Michael Harrison. I'm 34 years old, and I've spent the last decade building my reputation as a financial consultant. My life was organized, predictable, and carefully planned. Every detail mattered. Every minute counted. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It really helps us bring more emotional stories like this one to you. Asterisk, asterisk. The traffic light turned red at the intersection of Madison Street, forcing me to stop. The windshield wipers worked frantically, trying to clear my view. That's when I saw her. On the corner, partially sheltered by a bus stop that offered little protection from the downpour, sat a young woman. She couldn't have been more than 25 years old. Her dark hair was soaked, plastered against her pale face. But what truly caught my attention was the bundle she held tightly against her chest, a baby, wrapped in what appeared to be a worn blue blanket. The woman's eyes were closed, her lips moving as if she were praying or perhaps just talking to the infant. Her clothes, a thin gray jacket and faded jeans, were completely drenched. She had a small cardboard sign propped against a tattered backpack, but the rain had made the words illegible. The light turned green. The car behind me honked impatiently. I should have driven on. I had a flight to catch. But something in that scene, the vulnerability of that baby, the desperation evident in the woman's posture, made me pull over to the curb. Leave a comment telling us what city you're watching from. We love knowing where our viewers are from around the world. Asterisk, asterisk. I grabbed an umbrella from the back seat and stepped out into the storm. The rain immediately began soaking through my suit jacket as I approached her. "Excuse me," I said, holding the umbrella over her and the baby. She looked up, startled, her brown eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. Up close, I could see how young she really was and how exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her cheeks were hollow. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, her voice hoarse. "I'm not bothering anyone. We'll move if—" No, I interrupted. Are you okay? That baby, how old?" 3 months, she whispered, adjusting the blanket to show me a tiny face. The infant was sleeping, oblivious to the cold and rain. "His name is Daniel." "Have you eaten today?" I asked. She hesitated, then shook her head slowly. I checked my watch. My flight was in 90 minutes. If I helped her, I'd miss it. The meeting in San Francisco represented a potential contract worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. My boss had made it clear this was non-negotiable. But looking at that baby's face, so small and innocent, something inside me shifted. "Listen," I said, making a decision that surprised even myself. "I live about 10 minutes from here. The house is empty. I'm supposed to be traveling for work. You and the baby can stay there, at least until this storm passes and you figure things out." Her eyes filled with tears. I couldn't. "You don't even know me." "You're right, I don't. But I can't leave a baby out here in this weather." "Come on, my car is right there." If you think Michael made the right decision, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now. Asterisk, asterisk. She stood up slowly, wincing as if her body ached. I helped her gather her few belongings, the backpack, a plastic bag with what looked like baby supplies, and the cardboard sign. As we walked to the car, I noticed she was limping. "Are you hurt?" I asked. "Just sore," she replied quietly. "We've been walking a lot." I drove through the rain-slicked streets of Seattle, the city's familiar skyline of skyscrapers barely visible through the gray curtain of water. The woman, she told me her name was Sarah, sat silently in the passenger seat, rocking the baby gently. "How long have you been on the streets?" I asked. She was quiet for a moment. 2 weeks. Maybe 3. I've lost track of time. "What happened?" Sarah took a deep breath. "I was living with Daniel's father in Spokane. When I got pregnant, he changed, started drinking heavily, became violent. After Daniel was born, it got worse. One night, he came home drunk and started breaking things. I was scared he'd hurt the baby, so I took Daniel and left. I didn't have anywhere to go. My family disowned me years ago when I dropped out of college to be with him. Her voice cracked, but she continued. I used what little money I had to buy a bus ticket to Seattle. I thought maybe I could find work, find help. But without an address, without childcare, no one would hire me. The shelters are all full. We've been sleeping in doorways, under bridges, anywhere we can find. The rain continued to pour as we pulled up to my house, a modest 2-story craftsman-style home in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. It wasn't much, but it was mine, bought after years of saving and hard work. I unlocked the front door and gestured for Sarah to enter. She stood at the threshold, hesitant. It's okay, I assured her. Come in. The interior was simple but comfortable. Hardwood floors, a cozy living room with a worn leather couch, a small kitchen with a dining table. Everything was neat and organized, the way I liked it. What would you do in Michael's situation? Tell us in the comments. We love hearing your opinions. ***. Sarah's eyes widened as she looked around. It's beautiful, she whispered. Make yourself at home, I said. The bathroom is upstairs, first door on the left. There are clean towels in the cabinet. You should take a hot shower, get warm. Is the baby okay? She looked down at Daniel, who is starting to stir. He needs to be fed soon. I have some formula, but use whatever you need. The kitchen is fully stocked. I'll show you where everything is. I gave her a quick tour, pointing out the bedrooms, the bathroom, the washer and dryer. You can use the guest room. It's the one at the end of the hall. Clean sheets are in the closet. Sarah's hands trembled as she held Daniel. Why are you doing this? You don't know anything about me. I could rob you, or... You could, I admitted. But somehow I don't think you will. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I was supposed to catch a flight this morning. I've already missed it. I'm going to have to reschedule my trip. But I couldn't live with myself if I'd just driven past you and that baby in the rain. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise we'll only stay until the storm passes, and then we'll... Let's not worry about that right now, I interrupted. Just focus on getting warm and taking care of Daniel. I need to make some phone calls about my trip. I pulled out my keys from my pocket and placed them on the kitchen counter. Here. These are the house keys. The silver one is for the front door, the brass one is for the back. Make yourself comfortable. There's food in the fridge and pantry. Please, eat whatever you need. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. ***. Sarah stared at the keys, as if they were made of gold. You're giving me your keys? To your house. You'll need to be able to lock the door, get in and out if you need to. I'm going to step out for a bit to handle some work matters. Just take care of yourselves, okay? I will. I promise. I gathered my briefcase and headed for the door, but paused before leaving. Sarah, when I get back, maybe we can figure out a plan to help you get back on your feet. Job resources, housing assistance, whatever you need. You don't have to go through this alone. Her voice was barely a whisper. Thank you, Michael. God bless you. I stepped out into the rain, which had lessened to a steady drizzle. As I walked to my car, I called my boss. Michael, where the hell are you? He barked. The client is expecting you in 4 hours. I know, Jim. I'm sorry. There was an emergency. I need to reschedule. An emergency? What kind of emergency? This is a multi-million-dollar account, Michael. I looked back at my house, where I knew Sarah was probably experiencing her first moment of warmth and safety in weeks. A personal one. I'll explain later. Can we push the meeting to tomorrow? There was a long pause. This better be good, Harrison. You're putting your career on the line here. I understand. I'll make it work. After several more difficult calls and arrangements, I managed to reschedule my flight for the next morning. I spent the rest of the day at a nearby coffee shop, working remotely and giving Sarah and Daniel space to rest and recover. What do you think will happen when Michael returns home? Drop your predictions in the comments. Asterisk, asterisk. As evening approached and the rain finally stopped, I drove back to my house. The November sun was setting, casting long orange shadows across the wet streets. My mind was filled with questions. Had I done the right thing? Was Sarah still there? Was everything okay? I pulled into my driveway and sat in the car for a moment, looking at my house. The lights were on inside, casting a warm glow through the windows. I could see movement, shadows crossing past the curtains. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my briefcase and walked to the front door. I reached for my keys, then remembered I'd given them to Sarah. I knocked gently. Footsteps approached and the door opened. But it wasn't Sarah standing there. It was a man in his late 50s, wearing an apron and holding a dish towel. His face was kind but weathered, with gray hair and warm blue eyes. "You must be Michael," he said with a gentle smile. "Please come in. We've been expecting you." I stood frozen, confused. Who are you? Where's Sarah?" End of Chapter 1. If you're hooked on this story, make sure you're subscribed. Click that subscribe button now so you don't miss Chapter 2. And hit the like button if you're enjoying this story. Asterisk, asterisk. Hashtag Chapter 2. The Transformation. I stepped cautiously into my own home, feeling like a stranger. The man in the apron moved aside to let me enter, still smiling warmly. "I'm Robert," he said, extending his hand. "Sarah's father." My mind raced. Sarah's father? She had said her family disowned her. What was happening here? Before I could respond, Sarah appeared from the kitchen, carrying Daniel. She looked completely different from the desperate woman I'd left that morning. Her hair was clean and pulled back in a ponytail. She wore fresh clothes. She must have found something in my closets. And her face, though still showing signs of exhaustion, had regained some color. "Michael," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I know this must be confusing. Please let me explain." "I think that would be good," I said carefully, still trying to process the situation. We moved to the living room. The house smelled different, like home-cooked food. I could see through to the kitchen, where a pot was simmering on the stove. Comment below. Are you as confused as Michael? Let us know what you're thinking. Asterisk, asterisk. Sarah sat on the couch, holding Daniel, while Robert took a seat in the armchair. I remained standing, my briefcase still in my hand. "After you left this morning," Sarah began, "I did exactly what you said. I took a shower. It was the first hot shower I'd had in weeks. I fed Daniel, and he slept peacefully for the first time since we left Spokane. I felt human again." She paused, tears forming in her eyes. "I was sitting in your kitchen, eating actual food from a plate, and I broke down crying. All the fear, all the desperation of the past weeks just hit me at once. And I realized something." "What?" I asked softly. "That I needed to stop running. I needed to face my mistakes and try to fix them. You gave me more than shelter, Michael. You gave me hope. And that hope made me brave enough to do something I should have done weeks ago." Robert leaned forward. "She called me," he said. "After 3 years of silence, my daughter called me. If this is touching your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel." Sarah nodded. I was terrified. I thought he'd hang up on me. The last time we spoke, I told him I never wanted to see him again. I chose Daniel's father over my own family. I was so young, so stupid, so convinced I knew better. "We all make mistakes when we're young," Robert said gently. "I made plenty of my own. But I was horrible to you, Dad. To you and Mom. I said terrible things." "And we said terrible things too," Robert replied. "When you told us you were dropping out of college, when you moved in with that man despite our warnings, we handled it badly. Instead of supporting you, we tried to control you. We gave you an ultimatum, him or us. And when you chose him, we let pride stop us from reaching out." I finally set down my briefcase and sat down. "So, you came here when Sarah called?" Robert nodded. "I was in Tacoma, about 40 minutes away. I drove down immediately. My wife, Sarah's mother, is on her way too. She was in Portland visiting her sister, but she's driving back now." Should be here in a couple hours. I still don't understand, I said. Sarah, you could have just called your father from the street. Why did you need my house for that? She looked down at Daniel. Because I needed to be in a place where I felt safe enough to be vulnerable. On the street, I was in survival mode every second. I couldn't think clearly, couldn't feel anything except fear and desperation. But here in your home, with warmth and food and safety, I could finally breathe. I could finally think clearly enough to realize that I needed help, that I couldn't do this alone anymore. What would you have done in Sarah's situation? Tell us in the comments. ***. And you, she continued, looking at me with intense gratitude, you trusted me with your home. A complete stranger. You gave me your keys. Do you know how powerful that was? You treated me like I was worth something, like I deserved dignity and trust. No one had done that in so long. Robert wiped his eyes. When Sarah called and told me what you did, Michael, I could barely believe it. Who gives their house keys to a homeless person? But she sent me your address, and when I got here and saw her, clean, fed, safe, holding my grandson in a warm house, I understood. You gave her more than shelter. You gave her back her humanity. I felt overwhelmed by their words. I couldn't leave a baby in the rain. It was more than that, Sarah insisted. You missed your flight. You rescheduled important work. You put a stranger's needs above your own plans. That's not nothing, Michael. That's extraordinary. There was a knock at the door. Robert stood. That must be your mother. He opened the door, and a woman in her early 50s rushed in. She had Sarah's eyes and facial structure, but her hair was a lighter brown, streaked with gray. The moment she saw Sarah, she burst into tears. My baby, she cried, rushing across the room. Sarah stood, and mother and daughter embraced, Daniel caught between them. Both women were sobbing, years of pain and regret flowing out in that moment. I'm sorry, Mom, Sarah wept. I'm so sorry for everything. Shano, her mother said. I'm sorry. We should have been there for you, no matter what. We should have kept trying to reach you. I've thought about you every single day. Subscribe to the channel if you're getting emotional. And hit that like button. ***. I stood there, feeling like an intruder in this private family moment. Robert must have sensed my discomfort because he approached me. Michael, I'm Linda, Sarah's mother said, finally releasing her daughter and turning to me. Thank you. Thank you for saving my daughter and grandson. I really didn't do much, I started. You did everything, Linda interrupted. You gave her the chance to make the call that brought us back together. We've been looking for her for weeks, ever since Robert's private investigator found out she'd left Spokane. We've been checking shelters, hospitals, police stations. We were terrified. You were looking for me? Sarah asked, shocked. Robert nodded. Of course we were. You're our daughter. We made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but we never stopped loving you. When we heard from an old friend of yours that you'd left Daniel's father and come to Seattle, we've been searching everywhere. The evening unfolded with more conversation, more tears, and more healing. Linda had brought food. Apparently she'd stopped at a store on the way and insisted on cooking a proper family dinner. Robert helped, and I found myself setting the table in my own house for people who had been strangers just hours ago. Tell us in the comments, do you believe in second chances for family relationships? Over dinner, roasted chicken with vegetables, Sarah told her full story. The relationship that had started with promise but deteriorated into control and abuse. The isolation from friends and family. The fear that had paralyzed her even as she knew she needed to leave. And finally, the terrifying decision to flee with a newborn baby and almost no resources. I was ashamed, she admitted. You both warned me about him. You told me he was bad news. And you were right. I was too proud to admit it, too scared of hearing I told you so. We would never have said that, Linda said firmly. All we've wanted is for you to be safe and happy. I know that now, Sarah said. But when you're in that situation, you don't think clearly. He convinced me that you all hated me, that I'd burned every bridge. I believed I had nowhere to go. Robert cleared his throat. We want you to come home, Sarah. You and Daniel. We have a house in Tacoma with plenty of room. Your old bedroom is exactly as you left it. Dad, I can't just. Yes, you can, Linda interjected. You're our daughter. Daniel is our grandson. We want to help you get back on your feet. You can take some time to rest, to heal. Then we'll help you figure out what's next. Maybe finish your degree, find work, whatever you want to do.
Sarah looked at me.
What do you think, Michael? I was surprised to be asked. I think your parents love you very much. And I think accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. What advice would you give Sarah? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, ***. After dinner, as Linda washed dishes and Sarah put Daniel to bed in my guest room, Robert and I stood on the back porch, looking out at the Seattle night. The storm had passed completely, leaving the air fresh and clean. You're a good man, Michael, Robert said. Not many people would have done what you did. I'm not sure about that, I replied. I think most people want to help. They just get caught up in their own lives, their own schedules.
Maybe.
But you actually stopped. You actually helped. That makes you different. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Robert, can I ask you something? Of course. How did you get past the hurt? Sarah said she said terrible things to you when she left. Your relationship was broken for 3 years. How do you just let that go? Robert smiled sadly. I didn't let it go, exactly. It hurt. It still hurts. But I realized something over those 3 years. Pride is a terrible thing to hold on to. It keeps you warm with anger, but it's a cold, lonely warmth. Every birthday, every holiday, every milestone, I thought about Sarah. I imagined where she was, what she was doing if she was happy. And I realized that being right, being the one who was wronged, none of that mattered as much as having my daughter back. Hit that like button if Robert's words are resonating with you. When we found out she'd left that man and was on the streets with a baby, Linda and I both knew. Whatever pride we had left, whatever hurt feelings remained, they meant nothing compared to Sarah's safety. We just wanted her home. That's powerful, I said. It's love, Robert replied simply. Real love isn't keeping score. It's not about who is right or wrong. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, even when you've been hurt. Later that night, after Sarah's parents had left to prepare the house in Tacoma for Sarah and Daniel's arrival the next day, Sarah and I sat in the living room. Daniel was sleeping peacefully upstairs. I can't thank you enough, Michael, she said. You changed everything today. I think you changed things, I said. You made the hard choices, leaving an abusive relationship, protecting your son, swallowing your pride to call your father. Those took real courage. Courage I wouldn't have found without you. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you do it? Really? You don't know me. You had important work. Why did you stop? I thought about it for a long moment. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I saw you and Daniel in the rain, and something just shifted inside me. All the things that seemed so important, my meeting, my career, my schedule, suddenly felt less important than making sure that baby was safe. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was conscience. Or maybe I paused. Maybe what? Maybe I've been so focused on building my career, on being successful and independent, that I'd forgotten what really matters. Connection. Compassion. Being part of something bigger than just my own ambitions. Are you inspired by Michael's realization? Let us know in the comments. And subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories. ***. Sarah smiled. Well, whatever the reason, you saved us. Both of us. You would have found a way, I said. People like you, who fight that hard for their children, they always find a way. Maybe. But this way is so much better. We talked late into the night. Sarah told me about her dreams, to finish her nursing degree, to provide a stable life for Daniel, to maybe someday help other women in situations like hers. I told her about my work, my own parents who had passed away years ago, and my sometimes lonely life focused almost entirely on career success. You know what's funny? I said. I thought I was helping you today. But I think maybe you helped me too. How so? You reminded me that there's more to life than the next meeting, the next deal, the next achievement. You reminded me what it feels like to be human, to connect with someone in a real way. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3 is coming up next. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the incredible conclusion. Hit that subscribe button now. Asterisk asterisk. Hashtag Chapter 3, The Unexpected Gift. 3 months had passed since that rainy November morning, and my life had changed in ways I never could have anticipated. It was a crisp February afternoon when I received Sarah's call. "Michael, it's Sarah. I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all," I said, genuinely happy to hear her voice.
How are you?
"How's Daniel?" "We're good. Really good. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Could you come to Tacoma this Saturday? There's something I want to show you." "Of course. What time?" "Around 2? I'll text you the address." That Saturday, I drove the 40 minutes to Tacoma under clear blue skies. The address Sarah had sent led me to a comfortable neighborhood of tree-lined streets and well-maintained houses. I pulled up to a modest 2-story home with a tidy front yard and a wheelchair ramp leading to the front door. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're getting to the most emotional part. Asterisk asterisk. Sarah answered the door, looking healthier and happier than I'd ever seen her. Her face had filled out, her eyes were bright, and she had a glow about her that spoke of peace and contentment. Daniel was in her arms, significantly bigger than the tiny infant I'd last seen, and he was alert and smiling. "Michael, come in, come in." The house was warm and inviting. Family photos covered the walls, Sarah as a child, graduations, holidays, and new ones of Daniel. Robert and Linda greeted me warmly, and we settled in the living room with coffee and homemade cookies. "So," I said, "what's this all about?" Sarah and her parents exchanged glances. "We wanted to update you on everything," Sarah began. "First, I started back at nursing school in January. I'm taking it slower this time, just 2 classes while I take care of Daniel, but I'm actually doing it." "That's wonderful. Mom and Dad are helping with childcare, which makes it possible. And I've been going to counseling, dealing with everything that happened with Daniel's father, working through the trauma." Comment your city below, and let us know if you're enjoying this story. Linda spoke up. "We've also been working with a lawyer. We've filed for sole custody for Sarah, and we have a restraining order against Daniel's father. Sarah and Daniel are safe now, legally protected." "I'm so glad to hear that," I said sincerely. "But that's not the main reason we asked you here," Robert said. "Show him, Sarah." Sarah handed Daniel to her mother and left the room. She returned a moment later carrying a large folder. She sat next to me on the couch and opened it. Inside were dozens of documents, photos, and letters. At the top was a newspaper clipping from the Seattle Times. "What's this?" I asked. "Read it," Sarah encouraged. The headline read, "Local Woman Starts Foundation to Help Homeless Mothers and Children." The article, dated just 2 weeks ago, told the story of a new nonprofit organization called Keys to Hope Foundation. As I read, my jaw dropped. The foundation provided emergency housing assistance, job training, childcare support, and family reunification services for homeless women with children. The article featured an interview with the founder, Sarah. "You did this?" I asked, amazed. Sarah nodded, her eyes shining. "I did. Well, we did. Mom and Dad helped, and we've gotten some donors already. But yes, this is my project." If you're inspired by Sarah's transformation, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to like this video. Asterisk asterisk. I don't understand. 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I was the one who needed help, Sarah said. And you gave it to me. Not just the shelter, Michael. You gave me dignity. You trusted me. You treated me like I was worth something. And that changed everything. She pulled out more documents. We've already helped 12 women and their children. 12 families who were on the streets, just like Daniel and I were. We give them temporary housing. We've partnered with several property owners who donate space. We help them reconnect with family when possible, find jobs, get into school, access mental health services. This is incredible, Sarah. We call it Keys to Hope because of what you did, giving me your keys. That act of trust, that gesture of faith in me when I had nothing, it became the inspiration for everything. Robert leaned forward. When Sarah told us what she wanted to do, Linda and I were fully on board. We've put up a significant amount of our own money to get it started, and we're working on getting grants and more donations. Sarah has become the face of the organization, telling her story, inspiring others.
There's more, Linda added.
Sarah has been speaking at churches, community centers, anywhere that will listen. She's raising awareness about homelessness, especially women with children. She's been on local radio, and next month she's speaking at a statewide conference on homelessness. I was overwhelmed. Sarah, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, she replied. But there is something we'd like to ask you. She pulled out the last document in the folder. It was official-looking, with the Keys to Hope Foundation letterhead at the top. What do you think they're about to ask, Michael? Comment your predictions. ***. Michael Harrison, Sarah read formally, though her voice was trembling with emotion. We would like to invite you to serve on the board of directors for the Keys to Hope Foundation. You would be instrumental in helping us make decisions about the foundation's direction, fundraising strategies, and expansion plans. I was stunned. I'm not sure I'm qualified. I'm a financial consultant, not a... That's exactly why we need you, Robert interrupted. You understand money, investments, business strategy. You could help us maximize our resources and grow the foundation sustainably. Plus, Sarah added softly, you're the reason this exists. It feels right to have you be part of it. I looked at the three of them, at baby Daniel gurgling in Linda's arms, and I felt something shift in my chest, the same feeling I'd had that rainy morning 3 months ago. Yes, I said. I'd be honored. Sarah hugged me tightly. Thank you. Thank you for everything, for that first day, and for this. If this story is touching your heart, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Hit that subscribe button now. ***. Over the next hour, they showed me the foundation's office, a small space in downtown Tacoma that they'd rented, and introduced me to the 2 other staff members they'd hired. They walked me through their current cases, their success stories, and their challenges. One of the success stories particularly moved me. A 19-year-old mother named Jessica with twin babies had been living in her car for 2 months. Keys to Hope had housed her, helped her reconnect with her estranged grandmother, and gotten her enrolled in a job training program. She was now working as a medical assistant and living with her grandmother, who had been overjoyed to meet her great-grandchildren. That's what we do, Sarah explained. We don't just give temporary help. We try to heal the broken connections, rebuild the families, give people back their support systems. As the afternoon turned to evening, Linda insisted I stay for dinner. Around the table, eating pot roast and vegetables, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, like I was part of a family. You know, I said during dessert, I've been thinking a lot about that day. I almost didn't stop. I almost just drove past you. What made you stop? Linda asked. Honestly, I think it was seeing Daniel. Seeing that baby in the rain, so vulnerable, so completely dependent on his mother to protect him. It made me think about my own mother, how she would have wanted me to help. She always said that the measure of a person isn't what they do when it's convenient, but what they do when it costs them something. What values did your parents teach you? Share in the comments. And don't forget to like this video. ***. Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman, Robert said. She was. She passed away when I was in college. Cancer. And my dad died 2 years later, I think partly from a broken heart. I've been on my own ever since, just focused on building a career, proving I could make it on my own. And you have, Sarah said. You've built a successful career. But maybe you were meant for more than just that. What do you mean? Maybe you were meant to use that success to help others. To be part of something bigger. The foundation needs your business skills, yes, but it also needs your heart, the heart that stopped for a stranger in the rain. As I drove home that evening, the Seattle skyline glowing in the distance, I reflected on the past 3 months.
My life had indeed changed.
I was still a financial consultant, still successful in my career, but now I also served on the board of Keys to Hope Foundation. I attended meetings, helped with fundraising strategies, and occasionally volunteer at the office. But more than that, I had found purpose. I had found connection. I had rediscovered what my mother had tried to teach me years ago, that a life well lived isn't measured by personal achievement alone, but by the impact we have on others. Subscribe to our channel if you believe in the power of compassion and second chances. 6 months after that rainy November day, Keys to Hope Foundation held its first major fundraising gala. Sarah had worked tirelessly to organize it, and the turnout was incredible. Over 300 people attended, including local politicians, business leaders, and community activists. I stood at the back of the banquet hall, watching as Sarah took the stage to speak. She looked confident and poised, nothing like the desperate woman I'd seen on that street corner. "Good evening," she began. "My name is Sarah Mitchell, and 6 months ago, I was homeless. My infant son and I were living on the streets of Seattle, hungry, cold, and desperate. I had lost everything, my home, my dignity, my hope." The room was silent, everyone listening intently.